Welcome to a new video! Today I'm going to share with you my very much requested Speedroid deck profile. Now Speedroids themselves got a very awesome boost in Synchro Storm, which kind of solidified the deck a lot more to be a very strong, how I like to call it, rogue / tier 2 strategy, which can do very well when you're playing with it at locals or just in general. The deck is very strong. Now I'm going to play the more standard list that is kind of focusing more on the Speedroids and not on the other crazy weird techs, because I want to give a very base list for people to understand first, and then they can build whatever they want. But before we jump right into the video itself, I'm going to remind you that if you want to see more videos like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It's helped a ton. Let me know in the comments down below what you think, what you will change, what is your engines and things that you think are interesting that I can add to the deck, and give a like to the video if you enjoyed it. But without further ado, let's jump right into the Speedroid list itself. Alright, starting things off with the list itself, we're going to start things off with the Speedroid starters, obviously. We're going to start things with the 3 copies of Marble Machine, double copies of Ultra Hound, and 1 copy of Terratop. Now, I'm going to say one thing before we'll move on to their effects, is that in the Speedroid community, there is a different kind of build for everyone I've seen like some people like 3 Hound, 1 Marble Machine, or 2 Marble Machine, 3 Hound, 1 Terratop. Like, there is a different lines for everyone in like their extra deck and their main deck. There is a lot of different variants depending on the build that you want to run. This is the build that I like to run, and I like this very much. Terratop is honestly doesn't need any explanation, is a free special summon, search any Speedroid monster. If you control no monsters, it's a free special summon and just a great searcher. Ultra Hound is the new boy starter card, which is on normal summon, can dump any Speedroid from your, or Speedroid card from your deck to the graveyard, and also have a nice follow-up effect that can return a Speedroid monster into the deck, or I believe extra deck, and then summon the same, I think it's also deck, but it also can summon a monster with the same level. So the point is like you return a level 3 and then you summon your second copy of Court Shooter, which is really nice. So it's just a very cool follow-up and very good. But I would say this is that I am considering bumping this up to 3. I'm just not 100% sure about it yet, what I want to cut for it, but I think as a 2-off it still does its job, but sometimes I do want the 3rd one, so I do have a 3rd one on the way, and just I'm not really 100% sure about it. Then for Marble Machine is basically your normal summon Speedroid Terratop effect. It's just the same thing, it's just in archetype 1 that lock you into wind and a lot more harder to pull off like Terratop, and that's why Terratop is still at 1, as you probably know. But that does it for the starter cards. Now we'll move on into the extenders / useful cards for the deck. 3 copies of Card Turbo, 3 copies of Takatomborg, 2 copies of Dengane Daikuduke, 2 copies of Red Eye Die for the core cards of the deck. The Card Turbo and the Red Eye Die might be cards I'm considering cutting down by 1 each, but I really like what they do, especially the 2 Red Eye Die with the new Speedroid Roulette, that if I roll a 2, I will be able to get those 2 directly from my deck, rather than just get 1 copy of Marble Machine, because I cannot always depend on rolling a 3 and higher. So that's why I really like the 2 copies of Red Eye Die, and I think it's also a very interesting combo piece. Denden Daikuduke is just, if it's in the grave, it's allowing you to banish itself and summon any Speedroid tuner from your hand or graveyard to your side of the field, which is really useful. Takatomborg is just a free body if you control a wind, and then you can tag itself out to summon any of your Speedroid tuners. You can only special summon him once per turn, so basically, let's say you revive him, you not be able to special summon him from hand. It's either or, is like if you revive mass copies of Takatomborg, that's fine, but if you have the ability to special summon from hand or from grave, 1, you can only use 1 of these, so do keep that in mind when you use Takatomborg. And then we have the Card Turbo, which is just a free special summon. You have a wind. And then in the graveyard, it's an awesome card that allowing you to banish itself and another Speedroid monster from your graveyard, and all wind monsters you currently control gain 800 attack until the end of the turn, which is a great way to OTK with your Chambara and other cards as well. So these are your core Speedroid cards that are not your extenders. And then we have additional free Speedroid monsters that I think are really important to talk about. which is the 1 copy of Double Yo-Yo, the 1 copy of Horde Stilts, and then the 1 copy of Piper, which unfortunately I have to proxy. Apparently I forgot to order this, but it's on the way. Don't worry about it. But the point is that these are your 3 level 4s, which are really important. I wanted to run the plane, but the plane turned out to be most of the time not that good, because it's a level 5 and it doesn't really do a whole lot as much as I wanted it to be, because most of the time, if you want to get him, unless you're searching him, like hard searching him, you have to banish with this a level 8, which is something that you don't really like to do anymore. So having the Horde Stilts instead prove up to be a lot more useful. Also to mention the fact that you get the additional normal summon, like you use it a lot more. And having a card that can basically get another card out of your hand is actually really good. It's also have a very, very nice follow-up to just banish itself to send a Duke to grave, to then immediately just get a free summon out of the grave for a tuner. So that is also really awesome. Double Yo-Yo is just Double Yo-Yo, you normal summon this part of your combo, and then you get to yourself another monster on your side of the field, which is a level 3 or lower Speedroid monster, which is great. And then we have Piper. Piper is a card that I have mixed feelings about, which I'm not 100% sure I like that much, even though it's actually really good in some points. Piper giving you the ability to exhibit the top cards of your deck, depending on the other wind monsters you control. So if you're able to summon it, you can get whatever you want to from the top of your deck, like depending on, of course, the number of winds that you control. So you control, like, for example, up to 5 with it, so you can exhibit the top 5 cards of your deck and then add anything, which is great. It's also another tuner, which we kind of need in the deck, and it's a level 4, so that's great for a level 4 tuner. But I'm not 100% sure I like him that much. But I do also like the grave effect for very, very rare occasions that it can actually reduce levels by 2. So it does have a lot of usages. A lot of people make this up to be like the best card in the deck because of the exhibition effect, but it doesn't really come up as much as you think. It does come up a lot, but not as much as you think in every single combo, but it's still a very, very good card, so that's why I'm trying to keep this one in the deck. But that does it for your Speedroid-related cards. Now we'll move on into the extenders and other cards that's supposed to help you. So, first and foremost, we run 3 copies of, or at least I run 3 copies of Wind the Wind Channeler, 2 copies of Hasty Horse, and 1 copy of Snow Bell. Now, let me explain this lineup of cards. This card could be cut down for a third Hound or whatever you want to, but I do like the 3 special summon of a level 1 tuner, which is really, really useful sometimes to kind of like help you in some particular combo lines, which is great. Like the level 1 actually can just change things altogether, and it's also giving your monster protection, which is great, so that's why I like to run this at 1. Hasty Horse is just a free body that you can summon if you have no monster in a column, and just giving you a free wind body, so that's really nice. And then we have Channeler, which is your choice if you run this or Speedroid Scratch. I specifically don't have Scratch yet, so we run this instead, but it's really, really up to you what do you want to run instead. If you like this more, run this. If you like Scratch more, run Scratch. I specifically might actually going to lean into Scratch later just to test it out, because there are some particular combos that Scratch can do with things like duplicates that this cannot. But I still really like this because it's also inside. It's also have some of the applications that can actually search, draw, and Lockbird if you need to, and also have some other applications as well. It's honestly, both of them kind of do the same job. It just, Speedroid Scratch is just an in-archetype card, so you might want to run that, but both of them kind of do the same thing. But that's pretty much does it for the monsters. Now we'll move on into the spells, which don't really have a lot of them. We'll run 3 copies of Speedroid Wheel, 3 copies of Speed Recovery, 3 copies of Chalice, and 1 copy of Cold by the Grave. I don't think I need to explain these 4. These are supposed to help you break boards, and this is supposed to help you just avert hand traps if you can. Now this can be droplets, or you can even run not triple tactic talents, the cross out designator, and, you know, the hand traps, additional, you know, cards if you want to. But I really like the Chalice because I don't going to waste my money on Designator. Also, to mention the fact that this is actually not that bad. You could play Dark Ruler as well, but I like this because this is allowing me to OTK unlike Dark Ruler, so that's why I like Chalice in this deck. Because this deck can OTK pretty well. Now, in these particular 6, Speed Recovery is not a hard once per turn monster reborn. The effect that you cannot activate in the same turn is the Grave effect, that is, again, not a hard once per turn, that allowing you to banish it from the graveyard and add any Speedroid from your graveyard to your hand. Both of the effects are not hard once per turn, it just means that the second effect you cannot activate it in the same turn it was sent to the graveyard, so the recovery will only be in turn 3 or turn 4, depending on the situation. And then we have the new card, which is probably the most interesting one, Speedroid Will. You can discard any card, and then you roll a 6-sided die, and then, depending on the result, you summon the same levels of up to 2 Speedroid monsters from your deck. So, mostly you're hoping for more than a 2, to like a 3 or something, but, like I said, that's why I'm running the die, a 2, because if I'm going to get a 2, I'm at least going to get 2 monsters that are going to be turned immediately into my, rubber band shooter. But if you roll the 1, it's a shame, but it is what it is, and then you can just do the combined level. Now, if you cannot summon, you are going to take damage 500 equal to the roll. So, for example, you roll the 6 and you cannot summon 6, you basically going to take 3,000 points of damage, so do keep that in mind when you're playing with this. But that pretty much does it for the spells. The traps, we have only 5 left. Cards in the deck, so there are 5 traps, 3 impermanents, and 2 duplicates. Impermanence doesn't really need an explanation. As for duplicates, this card is absolutely awesome. This is basically your Dragon Maid Tiding to Speedroids. Basically, you banish any win from your graveyard and target 1 card your opponent controls and return to the hand. It's not a hard once per turn. The second effect is a hard once per duel effect, which is during your main phase, you get to basically target a level 2 or higher Speedroid in your field, on your field, and then basically eat a level and summon this as a normal tuner monster, which giving you the ability to have another tuner on your side of the field, or just another extender with things like Ultra Hound to then start combo plays, as you will see, for example, in combo number 3, when we'll get to that. But that does it for the main deck, 40 cards. Now we'll move on into the extra deck. For the extra deck, we're going to start off with the star himself, double copies of Court Shooter. Or should I say Band Shooter, sorry, not Court Shooter. Band Shooter. Band Shooter is absolutely amazing. Now it's even more insane than it already used to be, because we do have the support to actually help it to become even better, with the additional things like Baroness and other stuff as well with the Court Shooter. Band Shooter became pretty awesome. And Band Shooter, it has 2 effects, either banish any level, or should I say Wind Synchro from your extra deck, and then you reveal 2 Speedroid monsters with different names that equal its level together, and then your opponent randomly picks one and you send the other one to the graveyard, which is great. Now, of course, it does depend on your opponent, but you do have additional extenders that could basically, if you don't get the cards that you want to, you will still be able to play, so it's not the end of the world if you don't get what you want. And then the other effect is the effect that you're getting an additional normal summon, and then you lock yourself only into synchros. That's why I'm only running this as my Link monster. There is people who like to run Auroradon, but I think this is all you need, especially now with the new support. Speaking of the new support, we'll run 2 copies of Court Shooter, which is absolutely amazing. We'll run 1 copy of Hagoita, 1 copy of Chumbara, 1 copy of Stardust Charged Warrior, 1 copy of Juju, 1 copy of Wind Pegasus Antagonistor, and 1 copy of Clear Wing Fast Dragon for our extra deck synchro monsters that are not exactly our boss monsters. Now, Court Shooter, absolutely ridiculous card, amazing. You could run 1 and run 1 copy of Metal Marcher, but I think 2 Court Shooter is amazing. This guy has 2 effects, or this card has 2 effects. The first effect is you are able to add to your hand any Speedroid spell or trap from your deck to your hand, but the second effect is the real kicker, is that if the 2 materials are in the graveyard, or the materials of this card in the graveyard, you get to special summon them, all of them, to your side of the field, and then you basically get yourself a mini soul charge with like this monster. So the 2 monsters that you put in are just going to get back, which is amazing. So this card is absolutely ridiculous. Hagoita is just an amazing card that can sometimes tribute itself to give all of your monsters a level in desperate situations, but mostly if you control a tuner, and this is in your graveyard, you're getting a free body every single turn, which is great, so this can help you synchro summon really, really well. Chumbara is for OTKs, Stardust Charge Warrior is for the 6, and if I need to banish in my extra deck, or just in general get a free draw and get a 6. Juju is, again, a 6 if I need to. Wind Pegasus Agnister is a 7 that I do use most of the time in my combos. And then Clear Wing Fast Dragon, if I do need to end on this, it's pretty nice. It's also a nice card when it goes to the scale because it can summon itself back by tributing a Speedroid, or should I say, send a Speedroid tuner and one monster, any monster from your side of the field to the graveyard, and then you get to special summon this out of your scales as it's treated as a synchro summon, which is really nice. So, you know, I would say it's special summon this, but because it was synchro summoned already, it's kind of like a synchro summon, so that's really cool. And then his own effect is that he can basically negate an extra deck monster effect, which is really nice. But mostly, you do use him or the Chimbara, or any of those level 6s, depending on the situation, to banish with the Cord Shooter, or Band Shooter, to get your monsters that you want to for your plays. So that's kind of their point. And then for our 5 last synchro monsters, we have the Kite Drake, the double Crystal Wing, the one Shenshin, and the one Baroness, as you've seen from the start. Baroness doesn't really need any explanation. This is a pretty much interruption. Shenshin is great because it's Shenshin, although you could cut this down and run the Clear Crystal Wing if you want to, or cut this and run the new Clear Crystal Wing if you don't have the money for it, so that's still pretty good for people who want that. And then we also have the double Crystal Wing because I think these are absolutely insane. And then this one in order to help you break boards going second, because this is really easy to make, especially after you make your first turn board, because then you get yourself any tuner in your hands is level 3, you special summon it, or normal summon it, and then you special summon the Goita out of a grave, you make this, you either skill drain the entire field, or you just pop the entire field, which is awesome. But that's pretty much does it for the extra deck and does it for the deck profile as a whole. Hope you enjoyed this one. Speedroids are a really fun deck, and I absolutely enjoy them. I think they're freaking awesome. But yeah, that's pretty much does it for this section. Now let's move on into the 5 combos that I prepared for you all. Welcome to the combo section. Into combo section, I'm going to share with you a few combos that I think are pretty important for you to know playing this deck. And we're going to start with the more basic ones, what you can do with your 1-card starters, essentially what is the combo line to go with them. And the first one we're going to start with, which is probably the best one, opening up with Speedroid Terratop. Opening up with Speedroid Terratop, or a way to get into it, is basically 1 card, 3 interruptions, which is really cool. So let's get started with it. So starting things off, we're going to special summon the Terratop, and we're going to use its effect to add to our hand the Marble Machine. Then we're going to normal summon the Marble Machine, and it's going to add to our hand the Tambor. We're then going to special summon Tok, and we're going to use this effect immediately to send itself to the graveyard or tribute itself to summon the Dendendaiko Duke. Duke is a 3, Marble Machine is a 2. We're going to synchro summon immediately into Hagoita, and then we're going to take these 2 and link them into our awesome link monster, Rubber Band Shooter. Then we're going to use Shooter Effect. We're going to banish our Chambara from our extra deck, and we're going to reveal to our opponent a level 4 and level 1, which are going to be double Yo-Yo and the Red Eye Die. Now, of course, because we are doing this in case of, like, best case scenarios, because that's how combos are shown, the card that we're going to add to our hand is double Yo-Yo. However, if you do have Red Eye Die added to your hand, as long as you have, like, Speed Recovery or another way to get an extender to your side of the field, or something along those lines, as long as, like, you can change the level of that one to a 2, that's fine, you should be okay. But for this particular case, like I said, we're going to add to our hand the double Yo-Yo. So now we're going to use the effect of Rubber Band Shooter to normal summon again, and then we're going to summon the Red Eye Die out of our graveyard. Red Eye Die, going to turn this into a level 2, and we're going to synchro these off together into the Court Blaster, and that's why I moved those to the side, because we're going to immediately use Court Blaster effect to bring those back. Red Eye Die, we're going to turn this into a level 6, and we're going to synchro these 2 off into our Wind Pegasus Agnister, and then take these 2 and synchro summon into Baroness the Flower as our first interruption. Technically, we have another one in grave, but we'll talk about it in a second. Next, we're going to use the effect of Dendendaiko Duke, banish itself, summon back the Court Blaster, and then we're going to use the Hagoita effect to special summon itself because we control a Speedroid tuner. These together are an 8, and we're going to synchro summon, lastly, into Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. And that's how we're going to end our end board. In this end board, we get an Omni Negate, a Monster Negate, and then if our opponent will ever try to remove anything from our field, we also got the Wind Pegasus Adagnister as a card that basically shuffles something back, which is really, really cool. So we got ourselves basically 1 card, 3 interruptions, which is very, very nice. But that does it for combo number 1. Let's move on into combo line number 2. So now for combo number 2, we're going to follow the combo lines of the starter cards, and for the second starter card that we're going to take a look at is the 1 copy of Marble Machine. This is the only card that you need to open up in your hand in order to end up on kind of 2 interruption end board, which is pretty nice. So let's get started with it. So starting things off, we're going to normal summon the Marble Machine. Marble Machine is going to add to your hand the card Turbo, and since you control a wind, special summon it, and then link these 2 off. This goes to extra deck, this goes to grave, and we're going to summon the Rubber Band Shooter. Band Shooter effect, we're going to banish a 7 this time and not a 5. And essentially, the 2 cards that you're going to reveal are once again the Double Yo-Yo, and this time, the Terratop. Now, one thing I'm going to say about this is that it doesn't really matter which one of these you're going to add to your hand, because if you're going to add the Double Yo-Yo to your hand, it just means that you're going to end up with an extra monster. But if you go to add the Terratop to your hand, it still doesn't matter. You're going to end the same end board. It's just the extra monster. That's the only difference here. So let's say in this particular instance, we're going to get the worst one, and we're going to get the Terratop. We're going to use now the Rubber Band Shooter effect to get the additional normal summon for the Terratop, and add to our hand the Taketomborg. Taketomborg effect, special summon, and then we're immediately going to tribute it off to summon the Red Eye Die. Red Eye Die, turn this into a level 2. We're going to synchro these immediately into a Court Blaster, and then, just as before, summon these back, turning this into a level 6. Level 6 and a level 1 going to turn into a level 7, and then a level 7 and a level 3 going to be turned into a level 10 Baroness, with the interruption of the Pegasus in your graveyard if anything gets removed, which is pretty nice. But that does it for the second combo line. Let's move on into our third 1 card combo line, which is the Ultra Hound. Alright, so for our third combo is going to be the 1 card Ultra Hound combo, which basically followed the same principles of the Marble Machine combo end board, but it's kind of starting a little bit different because the card that you're going to use as your extender is Duplicate. That's only the different here, but it's still very important to show people the sequences, so I'm going to show that. So normal summon the Ultra Hound, use the effect to send to the grave the Duplicate, use the Duplicate effect, eat a level out of the Ultra Hound, and then immediately link these 2 off into the Rubber Band Shooter. You don't want to synchro, because if you will synchro, you will go into the level 3, which will give you a spell or trap, which is not bad, but in this particular case, we're doing a closed combo, so that's when we're going to the Rubber Band Shooter. We're going to use the Rubber Band Shooter effect to banish a 7, reveal just as before the level 4 and the level 3, and then we're going to take the worst one out of the 2, because like I said, it doesn't really matter, just in the previous combo. We're going to use the effect to normal summon again, and then we're going to add to our hand the Taketomborg. Taketomborg, special summon, and then tribute immediately into Red Eye Die, turning this into a level 2, and then synchro these 2 off into the Court Shooter. Then summon these 2 monsters back out of our graveyard, and then turn this into a 6, turn these 2 together into the Pegasus, and then these 2 together into Barony de Fleur with the Pegasus in your graveyard. Just the same as combo number 2, but it's still very important combo line to see. But that does it for combo number 3. Let's move on into the 4th combo, which is already starting to be 2 card combos. Alright, so for our 4th combo line, we just need to open up with Marble Machine and then any extender of our choice, and we're going to have the same end combo as combo number 1, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So starting things off, we're going to special summon the Red Hasty Horse, and then we're going to normal summon the Marble Machine. Marble Machine effect will add to our hand the Taketomborg, and then we're going to special summon the Borg, tribute it, and summon the Duke. Use these 2, make a 5, and then we're going to link these 2 off into Rubber Band Shooter. Shooter effect will banish a 5 as well as before as in combo number 1, and we're going to basically reveal the double yo-yo, and red-eye die. In this particular combo, again, like I said in the first combo, we're going to assume the best for us because we want to get the best combo line as possible if it's important. So we're going to add to our hand the yo-yo, and then we're going to use the effect to normal summon the additional, the yo-yo in our hand. Yo-yo effect, we're going to summon the red-eye die. We're going to synchro these off after making the yo-yo into a level 2, into Chord Shooter. Use Chord Shooter effect, summon these two back. Make this into a 6, synchro these two off. Into Pegasus, use these two. Baroness. And then use the effect of Denden Daikaduk Engrave to banish, summon the Court Blaster or Shooter, and then Hagoita effect Engrave to special summon itself because we control a tuner. We're then going to use these two, and we're going to summon, just like its combo number 1, the Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon with the Pegasus Adagnister in our graveyard as an additional interruption. So, just like I mentioned before, the best way, of course, is open up with Terratop, but 3 interruptions for 2 cards is still pretty decent, and you have 3 additional cards to play it with for a later turn, so this is pretty good. But that does it for combo number 4. Let's move on to the final combo, which is combo number 5. Alright, so for our 5th and final combo, we're going to use Hound once again, and the extender with Hound is going to be Takitamborg. This is basically the combo line, so let's get started with it. Starting things off, we're going to normal summon the Hound, and we're going to use this effect to dump the Duke. This can also be duplicated if you want to still, but I think the Duke is quite better. We're going to basically use the effect of Takitamborg to special summon itself, and then tribute itself immediately to summon the red-eye die. Turn this into a level 2, synchro summon into the Court Bluesta, and then Court Bluesta will summon these two back. We're then going to use this card effect. Actually, it doesn't really matter if you use this card effect, you can actually link these two off into the Rubber Band Shooter. And then we're going to use Rubber Band Shooter effect to basically banish a 7, so we can reveal these 2 cards, and the 7 one we're going to banish is obviously the Clear Wing Fast Dragon, because, it's the more flexible one to banish. So, in this particular case, we're again going to assume for the best, so we're going to add to our hand the double yo-yo and sending this to grave. Use the effect to normal summon again, normal summon yo-yo, then special summon the Terratop, and use the effect to add to our hand the card Turbo. We're then going to take a level 4 and a level 1, synchro summon into a level 5 Hagoita, special summon this out of our hand. We're going to synchro these two off into the Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. Then we're going to use the effect of Duke Engrave to banish itself, summon once again back the red-eye die, turning this into a 4, and now we're going to use the Hagoita effect to special summon itself, and then all of these 3 monsters can be turned into Baroness. Now, one thing that you can technically do is that you can technically go into double Crystal Wing if you want to, but I think this is a little bit of a better end board. So that's how you're going to end your board. 2 interruptions with 2 cards, again, pretty decent and pretty nice. And I think this is, again, a pretty nice combo line. But that does it for the combo section. Now let's move on into the next deck choices for you guys to choose from. Alright, so for the next deck choices to end up the video, we have 4 options for you to choose from. The 3 returning options from last week, as always, which are going to be Earth Machine, Lyra Lusk, and Lightsworn. And then the 4th option I'm going to throw in, because I like these guys, Zombie World. So let me know in the comments down below which one of these you want to see first, so I'll be able to work on it as soon as possible. But that's pretty much does it for the video itself, and that is for the deck profile as a whole. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you do. Remember, creativity is the key in this game. Have a good day, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.